Welcome into another edition of The Session with Londa and David. My name is David Austin, and sitting across from me, as always, what a treat to look across this tiny round table and see the prettiest girl I've ever looked at. And that is Londa Sherwood Austin. And boy, you're a delight to look at.
I'm afraid for the people who listen to our podcast, if they actually meet us one day and they hear the way you talk and then they meet me and go, oh, she's just normal.
No, what they'll say is she's that guy's fantasy girl.
Oh, well, maybe.
And that's what you are. Greatest thing ever.
Thank you.
I would keep talking about it, but at this point, it would just be creepy. So I'm going to segue out of that and say The Session with Londa and David is a program that celebrates customer service, great experiences, and bad ones. And here's why we celebrate bad ones. Because we want those businesses to get better.
Yes.
Every time.
Yes.
That's the goal.
Yes. I was thinking about this recently. I thought, because we're going through like our branding and all that, and what's your message and all that. So I've been thinking a lot about it. And I thought, man, if I had to really boil it down, we help businesses make more money.
That's right.
Simply put.
That's why we're business growth consultants.
Right.
We consult businesses on their growth.
Yeah.
We can grow sales teams. We can grow staffing. Right. We can grow the bottom line.
Right. I'm really good at increasing efficiency within a business. I'm really good at increasing the productivity within a business. Bottom line, though, it's the profit, right?
Yes.
I will help you. We will help you make more money.
Well, I would say bottom line, it's the profit is a lot of businesses' goals.
Yes.
Some... And it's bizarre to me, that's not their goal. Like some may love animal rescue. So they just want to solve a problem about spaying and neutering pets at their business.
Which is why we need to help them increase their profits so they can do more of what they want to do.
I love that.
Yes.
I love that.
It's all, like I always say, money does not buy you happiness, but it gives you choices. And
it solves a lot of problems.
That's exactly what I was going to say.
Yes, it does. Yes, it does.
It can make problems go away.
Okay.
As it were.
So we have, over the last few episodes, we've talked about changing expectations in a post-COVID world.
Right. And
we'll continue to talk about that for, I'm guessing, years to come.
Oh, yeah.
We've talked about the sales process very recently. And before that, we talked about the psychology of sales.
Right.
Today, because you've always called yourself a first impression specialist.
Yeah.
I would like to know more about first impressions and how you can help businesses grow through sharpening the image presented during a first impression. So I'd like to know more about first impressions, number one, and I'd like to know more about how they can be better in every situation.
Okay.
Does that make sense?
Yes. And I love what you just said, because first impression starts with the way that you look visually.
Yes.
The way that your people, your staff, your company appears to the eye visually.
Okay.
That's the very first part of first impressions.
Yes.
So make sure that what you're reflecting on the outside is
congruent with the inside.
With the inside.
For instance, if I wanted to be a death metal musician, I shouldn't wear kitten t-shirts.
Well, you can.
It's incongruent with the message that I'm trying to put forth.
It depends on the kind of death metal artist you want to be.
Well, I guess if your goal was to sing about...
This is maybe not the best example. Well, I'm going to be honest with you.
It's a little ridiculous, right?
Well, okay, you don't look at Ben Platt, Broadway star.
Right, and think death metal.
Incredible musician, and think death metal.
You don't.
You don't.
So who do you look at and think death metal? The Insane Clown Posse.
Sure.
Death metal. Clown faces.
Sure.
Scary.
Right.
Yes.
So one thing when I'm consulting with a business or a person, right, about their business, one thing that I'll talk about is kind of drilling down on who they are.
Right.
Inside.
Okay.
What's the core of you or the core of your business? And then how do we make sure the image or the first impression visually is lining up with that? Now, I don't do branding. I send them off to somebody else for the work,
Right.
as far as like creating the logo and all that stuff. I don't do that stuff.
And we have a team doing that for Sherwood Austin Business Growth Experts as we speak.
Right. But I can connect them to those people as the next step of that process.
That's exactly right.
So it's just really, really important. For instance, I'll just give you a couple of examples. I think that any cleaning service, residential or commercial cleaning service, should have pretty sharp looking uniforms.
Okay.
And the reason why is you're a cleaning service.
And so you want to look clean.
Right. And,
that makes sense.
And, this, some of my learning to be aware of this probably goes back to my childhood when my mom would say, I don't care how poor we are, you don't have to be dirty.
You know what?
You know what I mean?
That's a really good thing. And it reminds me of Janny King. They're the largest janitorial franchise business. They were one of our clients years ago when I was working with my now deceased friend Ed Buggs on the Ed Buggs show. They are in, I want to say, Ponchatoula, Louisiana. And what they do is they help people set up a janitorial service that they can, for that person, go into the community and sell janitorial services for the guy. So when you buy a franchise, you get a cart, you get uniforms,
right?
You get all the cleaning supplies. Right. So every Janny King person looks like a Janny King person. It's James looking official at the beach. Right.
And so if it's a little different when you're an individual.
Right.
Because I worked with a lot of realtors, right? They're representing themselves.
Right.
They've got a personal brand.
Yes.
So as long as you've got congruency with who you are and what you're putting out there, that's the key to that. A business, it might be a little bit different, right? Like with the uniforms and all that stuff. But an individual that is marketing a product or service individually, I don't care. And this goes back to a conversation we had about the bikini realtor, right? And when we were talking about,
please do that.
No,
let's get licensed in both Washington and Florida.
I'm not going to do that. But what I was saying about that in a previous podcast was, I don't care if that's what you do. Just make sure it's authentic
to you,
to who you are, and that you're super confident in the message that you're conveying to other people. And if people don't know how to do that, I started my coaching career as an image consultant, and I wardrobed people for years and all that kind of thing. And so they can contract with me to do that.
Right.
And so, that's step number one, is pull back the lens and look at your business in, through the buyer's eyes, through the consumer's eyes.
Yes.
And think about what kind of experience you want them to have visually when they first meet your storefront.
I think that's great.
Your staff.
And that's true in every business, right? If you walk into a bank, they may be in street clothes, they may be in a bank t-shirt, but they're all wearing the same type of clothing, right?
Yeah.
If you walk into a fast food place, well, they're in a uniform and they all look the same.
Right.
You know who the employees are there, right?
Yeah.
You go into Best Buy. If the person's wearing a blue shirt and khaki pants, they work there.
Right.
Except for me, I had to stop wearing khaki pants because every time I was in Best Buy, people asked me where the computers were.
Right. It's like wearing a red shirt to Target.
That's exactly right.
Oops, I've made a terrible error.
Or a blue vest at Walmart.
Actually, I'm the person who, just helps them find whatever they want. And
so they're not embarrassed.
And then move on.
I'm exactly that way. Yeah. And I would let someone believe I worked there for 10 years before I corrected them.
Right.
It's like the restaurant in Lake Charles, Louisiana. Speaking of that, one of my dear friends from Lake Charles, Louisiana, Dale Mann, retired from broadcasting this week.
Oh, wow.
And I saw it this morning on Facebook. But when I started doing his morning show as the news guy with Dale and Kevin on Kix 96 years and years and years and years ago, we went to a restaurant in Lake Charles, and they introduced me to the owner of the restaurant, and he goes, "Oh, that's great. Nice to meet you. Blah, 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 blah. What's your name again?" "David Austin." "That's great." Well, apparently the hospital during that same time frame hired a heart specialist named Dr. Austin. So from 2 weeks after I was introduced to the owner until today, the owner thinks I'm Dr. Austin from the hospital. I had to stop going to that restaurant because I didn't want to correct him. I didn't want to embarrass him. Weird. "Dr. Austin, how are you? My nephew thinks you're great." Every time I went in there. Because, it's just like you in Target. You'll show somebody where, housewares are because you don't want to embarrass them.
Well, no.
That was my motivation.
That's your motivation.
I don't know your motivation.
My motivation is I know where it is and I'm kind, sure. My motivation is I'm a know-it-all, I guess.
Okay,
Yeah.
okay. So you don't correct them and say, no. I don't work here.
Oh, no.
But let me show you housewares.
Because if I can solve their problem,
You want to.
I want to, because I think it's kind and I have time. And I tell people in stores like that all the time, like sometimes cashiers will apologize. Like, "I'm sorry you had to wait so long."
Right.
And I always say, listen, you can never be in so much of a hurry that you can't be kind.
Right.
Like nobody's going to die if I don't get where I need to go. There's no room for losing my mind when I have to stand in line for 20 minutes at Walmart, which happens at our Walmart. So
people do lose their minds.
Yeah.
So first impressions, we've talked about, have a look that is congruent with your inside.
Yeah.
So make your outside flow with your inside.
That's right.
I like that. That's great. It's like having a mission statement for a business. If you have a mission statement that all the employees in the business agree with and agree to, way easier because they know the why.
Exactly.
That's really cool.
Yep.
Okay.
Next. This is so stupid simple.
Okay.
But so many people don't do it.
I'm excited.
And what I'm sharing today is really great. This is a really great reason to hire us, to come in and work with your staff if you're a business owner, because we get to be the bad guy, right?
Yes.
And tell them these things, and you don't have to tell them. We're the experts coming in. And it's so simple. You can tell them, but they won't always listen to you, you know? So anyway, the next thing is to smile.
Absolutely. Fully agree.
Smile.
If you smile, people want to do business with you.
And practice it all the time.
Right.
All the time. I don't care where you are and what you're doing. Practice looking people in the eye and smiling. A genuine, joy-filled smile. And if you can't, then get some therapy to find some more joy in your life, or do some other things. If you can't do that, my guess is you're not spending enough time doing things in your life that bring you joy.
You know what? That's not a criticism.
Not at all.
Those are words of wisdom.
Yep.
If you don't have joy in your life, there's a problem.
If your job is customer service and you hate people, either get to a place in your life where you can genuinely care, love people, or get out of the job.
That reminds me of a food service experience we had this week.
I was just going to say that.
I don't remember the name of the place because I don't love it, so I forget. What's it called? Fresco's in Lakeland. Okay, there's this waitress at Fresco's in Lakeland. We've had her now twice, and her demeanor is that she's inconvenienced by the customer. Would you say that's true?
That's one word I would use.
Inconvenienced.
It's really hard to not use bad words.
Yeah.
But you're right. She's irritated.
Yep. That's exactly right.
And you and I had a conversation recently where I was explaining to you that some people, when you work in retail,
Yes.
this happens a lot.
Yes.
When you work in retail, it's easy to get in this place where you start to hate people. Because customers can be really, really mean. So the joke that I always had with my kids is, if you hate people, you've been working at the mall too long. You know what I mean?
Okay.
Because people do have a tendency to be rude and mean and unnecessarily aggressive and short. And when you work with those people a lot, you can get into that, like, I hate people mode. So I suspect this particular server has just gotten into that place, because it's not like she's just that way with us. She's like that with everybody. I've watched her. And she either needs to get a different job or figure out how to recapture some life, some joy inside herself. Or, something.
And you never know.
Pete's
she may be
sake.
going through some terrible things. She may be suffering from depression.
Right?
Get a
Sure,
counselor.
sure.
You know what I mean? I can't relate to what you just described about hating people.
You're an anomaly.
Because it is so foreign to me. I used to work for a lady. It's true. I used to work for a lady, and I'm not going to say who she is because I don't want to shame her for any reason. But every single month in lending, she would say to me, I just had the worst customer of my life. I still haven't had the worst customer of my life. And I've had customers that, for one reason or another, it wasn't a love match. I don't hate people.
Right.
I don't ever...
Right.
Yeah, I just don't get it.
There have been a number of times over the years that I've found myself kind of slipping into that mentality and being and I've got to pull myself out of it and reconnect to why I really do love people, and I really do love spending time with them. And a lot of times, actually, I need, a day off to go be in nature so I can reconnect with myself.
That is something that has to do with you before I knew you intimately, because it's very rare to see you in that state.
Right.
I've never heard you say,
right. No, you haven't.
I am so frustrated by X, Y, or Z. I've never heard it. So it's hard for me to believe.
One time.
What was it?
I did have a deal that just about put me over the edge.
And what happened in that deal? What was so weird about the deal? You don't have to name anybody.
I'm not going to name anyone, and I'm not even going to go into the details, but I will tell you that it all kind of culminated when we were at visiting Dad and Donna.
Okay.
So, and it was bad. So I can get there, but I'm, again.
Oh, I remember that. A lender told you to not be hysterical. I remember that. And let me tell you, in that guy's defense, we're not going to say his name. He's genuinely a nice man. He was going through something on that deal, I suspect.
At any rate, I don't want to get into it.
And we don't have to.
But here's advice. Don't tell someone to not be hysterical.
Right.
When they're absolutely not being hysterical, they're calling you out on your BS.
And here's
and he got embarrassed. You opened the can. I tried to move over it, but
I remember now because you told me where we were.
Yeah, I called him on it, and he accused me of being hysterical, and I was speaking in a normal voice.
Yeah.
I was not at all.
Yeah.
And I don't take that well at all.
You're right.
Those kind of accusations.
And I remember that, and that was bad.
I think I hung up the phone and said, I hate people.
You know what?
And then I quickly turned my brain around.
And again, for that person...
Yeah.
Who I've known for years and years.
Me too. And that's a one-off that I had.
That's exactly right.
And it hasn't colored my the way that I look at him going forward at all. So,
yeah.
But that one incident.
And I bet he had already been yelled at about that deal.
Probably.
By either the seller or the customer.
Yes. And I'm sure.
So when he got on the phone with you, he'd already been through it.
For sure.
And no need to talk about it anymore.
Let's go back, though, to the restaurant.
Okay.
And when I asked for, which I sat, let me just speak to servers for a moment.
Okay.
When you serve the food, within about a minute,
you come by.
You need to come back to that table.
Yes.
And ask them if everything's okay, because if it is, great. If it's not, they need something. They need it right away. So I sat for probably a good, 4 or 5 minutes needing
a lubricant for your sandwich.
That sounded disgusting. Let's not call it that.
Mayonnaise
I needed
is a
side of
lubricant.
mayonnaise. I needed a side of mayonnaise just for more flavor on my sandwich. And I didn't want to eat it without it. And I just sat there forever staring at my delicious looking BLT that was lacking mayonnaise. Anyway, fine. And she walked by a couple of times and I couldn't get her attention. It's not because she was busy.
This is so shocking to me.
So anyway, she came up to the table. How's everything? And previously, even this, when she asked me what side I wanted, she said the list of sides so fast I couldn't understand what she said.
Like the Micro Machines guy, when he used to get on there and go...
Yes. So I asked her to repeat it. She said it exactly the same way. Now listen, if I need you to repeat it, if I didn't hear it the first time and you say it again the exact same way, I'm not going to hear it again.
And one of the things she said is side salad.
Yeah, that's a whole other thing.
And I ordered a side salad because she said side salad.
Then she said you couldn't get one.
And mine was $5.99. I paid $5.99 for less lettuce than potato salad than you got.
So anyway, finally, she says, how's everything? And you said, great, because you're just happy all the time. And I said, hey, could I get a side of mayonnaise? And she looked at me and said, sure. And as she turned... before she turned far enough away, rolled her eyes.
I thank God that I did not see that, because I would have said, don't be so hysterical. And I might have set her on fire. I might have.
The point being, when you are in a service industry of any kind, when you're face to face with people, when you're, like that, control yourself.
Well, I would say when you're in any business situation, you need to control yourself.
You don't go around the corner and talk smack about the customers. You don't roll your eyes when you turn away.
Right.
You just don't. The workplace has to be some kind of almost sacred space where we don't. And as managers, owners, we set the expectation of we do not tolerate that here.
Exactly.
Because our very livelihood is attached to those people that you're talking smack about when you get around the corner, or you're rolling your eyes, or you're, no.
That's absolutely, I would say, a systemic problem in many like fast food restaurants. And believe me, Fresco's is not a fast food restaurant, but in fast food restaurants, people complain in the kitchen. Counter people will come in and tell a funny anecdote about somebody they just
it's a common in many industries.
And it's
not
terrible.
Just restaurants.
Absolutely terrible. And here's what I think. Young people don't know better. That's the excuse I have in my brain for that.
No. And listen, it's a cultural thing in a business.
It's unacceptable in every way.
I've seen it in every industry I've ever worked in.
Yes.
Ever.
Yes. You don't talk smack about your customers. You don't think smack about your customers.
Because what it does is it creates neural pathways in your brain to hate people.
Oh,
you're training yourself to see the negative. And my suggestion is train your brain to see the positive in people instead.
I had the worst customer of my life this month. I couldn't believe that. Every month I had that conversation with that person.
Yeah.
I don't get it.
Yeah. So smile genuinely, find some joy somewhere inside you and share it.
And have joy inside you. How about that?
Well, yes. Ultimately, yes. It's so much easier if you're not having to fake it. Sometimes we talked about this in an earlier podcast. You're going through something and you've got to compartmentalize in your head. And you do have to fake it. I've had to do it many times when I'm going through hell and I've got to try to be on my game with people, and you do the very best you can.
Right.
But if overall you can kind of nurture and cultivate joy inside you, it comes out and it's so much easier. So that would be one thing.
Yeah. And if you're going through something, like I always refer back to when I went through my divorce, I was sad a lot and lonely because you now spend every day with me. You know, I'm thrilled to be next to you. I want to be next to you all the time.
Some might say codependent.
Many would say that. But what I'm saying is, if you were gone, I'd have nothing to do. I'd feel terrible. I'd be alone. I'd be a hangdog, sad face all the time because I want to look over across the room and see you and enjoy you, right?
Right.
So when I went through my divorce, I was sad a lot.
Because you didn't have a person.
Well, that's right. I didn't have a person all the time.
Okay, we don't have to get into those details, sir.
I filled my calendar with women and
right.
You know what I mean? But I didn't have I'm going to wake up next to you consistently.
Yeah.
I was sad a lot. And you know who was the most considerate person to me during that time?
No.
My boss, Charles Ney at Guild Mortgage at the time. He would call me. What a wonderful man he is. He would call me and say, David, how are you today? Not, David, how's your business today?
Right.
I got to tell you, I will always love that guy, and I'll always have something good to say about Guild Mortgage because of that guy.
That's beautiful. I love that.
Yep, I loved it too. I needed it. And then my friends and brothers, Dago and Miguel and Rob, huddled around me and said, okay, we're tired of seeing you not being happy like David. We need you to come do this with us.
That's beautiful.
And we did. And instantly everything changed because even though I didn't have somebody all the time at home, I had somebody all the time at work.
Yeah.
Who love me and care about me. You know what I mean?
Yes. Makes a big difference.
Absolutely.
And that goes back to culture. And that comes from the top down. The management, the ownership. You've got to create a culture where you care about one another. We're happy to see one another. We share in each other's, lives, and we don't tolerate dogging on the people, our clients or our customers or each other.
That's exactly right.
Has
to be that way.
It does. And I could go lots deeper on this. And if you're a business owner who needs to help cultivating that in your company, we can help with that.
And the number to call for that is 509-491-2663. That number again, 509-491-2663 for Sherwood Austin business growth experts. Londa Sherwood Austin and David Austin would love to sit down with you.
We'd love to.
And find out how we can help it feel better.
There's nothing better than sitting down with a business owner and their managers.
Right.
And getting to the heart of who this company is and then figuring out how to help them create a culture inside the company that reflects that consistently.
And many entrepreneurs have been part of a business in their past that has given them that kind of training. But I would submit to you, far more business owners haven't had that training and need
maybe
it.
Not even thought about it because they're too busy trying to figure out how to pay the bills.
That's exactly right.
And again, that's why we're great, because we see the things they're not seeing that will ultimately increase the profits.
That's right.
So, yep.
I love that even though you've said over and over and over and over again to me that you don't have an outline for the show.
I've got notes today.
You do have an outline for the show, and typically you write it on a big whiteboard, which is kind of behind us here in the studio.
Usually I write a few bullet points, but today I have notes that I wrote at like 3 a.m. one day this last week. Actually, it was at 4:30 right after my meditation time. All of a sudden, I wrote all this out.
You talk about meditation time, and it sounds pretty crazy, but you do yoga, you meditate, you stretch. It's not something that I've ever done,
right?
But it's neat to see, and you get a lot accomplished when you're doing that.
I do that to rewire my brain from past trauma.
Picture yourself
No.
in a... Okay, fine.
No, nobody wants that. Okay, so next.
Yes.
We've talked about the way everything looks.
Yes, we want it to be cohesive and match our insides.
Smiling.
Yes.
Genuine smile. Practice it when you're walking through the airport. Practice it when you're in the store. Practice making eye contact and smiling at strangers, and it will help you in your business. Okay, next.
I'll tell you this. There's nothing you put on that's as attractive as a smile.
Oh, that's true.
It is true.
That was for our YouTube watchers, that face. You're welcome. Some things I just do visual for fun.
I almost said that does not translate to radio, honey.
Right.
And that reminds me of my friend Ed Buggs. I used to do a thing when I was talking about stuff that I didn't like. I would go, and I'd pretend to spit. Right. But I didn't make a sound. I just did. So if you were with me, you could see it. He started doing that during his radio show, and I had to say to him, Ed, no one can tell what that silence is. Yeah. It does not translate to radio. Mm-hmm. I love it that during this branding conversation, we've gotten to talk about two of my best broadcaster buddies, Dale Mann, who's newly retired, and Ed Buggs, who's...
That's sweet.
Yeah, who's deceased. We miss Ed.
Aw.
So there you go. Okay, so put on a smile.
Yep, and then the next thing that you want to think about is greeting.
Okay. So let me ask you this. If you walk into a place,
so important,
and the person behind the register is the first face you see, should they make it clear that they see you and acknowledge you? Because I had an experience where one of us was acknowledged by the lady behind the counter and the other one wasn't. I kept looking at you like, what in the hell is going on?
Yeah. Anytime you come in contact with your potential customer or client, and it's not just a cashier. I mean, it's a lot of different.
It can be anywhere. The first face in the business.
The first person anybody comes in touch with has got to know how to greet someone and welcome. But it's more than just hi,
right?
Welcome in,
right?
It can be so much more.
Yes.
So welcoming someone into your space, and a great place to practice this is, as a realtor, open houses. Mm-hmm. So at an open house, it's awkward when strangers walk. It can be awkward when strangers walk in the door at an open house. Right. And every realtor I know can probably relate to that. It can be just a little weird. And so if I got in the habit of saying, hi, welcome to 123 Main Street. I'm so glad that you're here today. That's just how I greeted people when it's just the greeting, right?
And it's
with a big smile on my face.
Simple scripting.
Right.
And everything you do should be authentic to you.
Right.
So if those words don't make sense for you, find words that do make sense to you and make it consistent. I've had several people say to me when I answer my phone, dude, didn't you know it was me? I answer my phone the exact same way.
Can confirm.
Every single time, because you never know who's on the other end of the phone. Now, caller ID is a thing.
Well,
I do know, but if I'm driving in my car,
right.
I may or may not look because I'm driving, I'm in traffic.
Right.
If I'm answering with my watch, often my watch does not tell me who it is. Right. It's just a phone number. Yep. So I just have a consistent few words that I use every single time.
You have a consistent branded greeting.
Absolutely, every single time.
And you probably didn't even know you did. Why? Like that it's branded to you. Like everybody knows you answer the phone the same way all the time.
Well, I did know that, and it's because of my dad. My dad, when I was little, trained all of his Kentucky Fried Chicken managers to answer the phone at Kentucky Fried Chicken the exact same way. Mm-hmm. That's the answer I do, by the way. I don't go, thank you for calling Kentucky Fried Chicken on University. This is David. But I do say, good afternoon. This is David. How may I help you?
Yeah.
I sure do.
Yep.
Every time. Mm-hmm. Weird, right?
Yeah.
That's my dad. He scripted my answer.
So you said something interesting. If those words don't feel authentic to you,
yes,
then find words that do. Let me expand on that for 1 second.
I like it.
Until you're successful in business, it's okay to use someone else's words.
Right.
Scripts are gold.
Yes.
If they're good. And I've written scripts for 30 years. even for big companies.
Okay.
And I can make a script sound like anybody. So I can help write scripts. So if you need scripts for your business, I can help write those. And, that all started freshman year of high school when Mrs. Judy LaForce taught me how to write in different voices.
Right.
And thank God she did for a couple of reasons. Number one,
I don't know that you should tell this story.
Number one, I've used it for the last 30 years in writing scripts for different people that they have used very successfully, different people in different companies. Number two, it made me a lot of money in high school, and we'll leave it at that.
No, I think you should now tell about how you used your powers for evil when you were in high school. Go ahead. Now that we're on it, and you've already opened the can of worms, when she learned to speak in other voices, she would then sell papers to classmates.
Well, I learned how to write
as them
in 4 different voices.
Right.
So I thought, well, one of them has to be mine. So I've got openings for 3 clients.
And that you did that for a long time.
All through high school.
Yeah, the same 3 probably.
The same 3 all the way through high school.
Repeat customers.
Yeah. So I'm not encouraging anybody to do that, but I am saying there's value in learning how to write in different voices. So anyway, it's helped me a lot. So my point is...
Scripting is okay.
My point is if you don't know what to say, learn how to use a script and make it sound like you using those exact words.
Yes.
Until you develop a script that sounds like you, that gets the same results. Because if you wrote your own script and you're only getting 60% closing ratio on that script, that script needs to be better.
Okay.
So, and you might be able to use a script that a professional wrote and get a 90% closing ratio.
Yes.
So I take issue a little bit with if it doesn't sound like you, change it. Whoa. That depends on your results.
But you can tweak words that are scripted to be in your voice. You can do that easily without changing the meaning of the script.
I can, and you can. Most people can't.
I gotcha.
So that's important.
Another thing that goes with the greeting is your greeting on your in-person presentation should be similar to your greeting on your phone presentation and should be similar to your voicemail.
Consistency.
One of the biggest complaints I have about people in business is when their voicemail is off-putting, depressing, or not who they are.
Right.
I have several people that I've done business with over the last 20 years in lending and real estate who have god-awful voicemail messages that don't sound like them.
Right.
If you leave this message on your voicemail, hi, you've reached the voicemail of David Austin. Leave me your name and number and I'll call you back. I don't want to do business with that person.
I have a quick solution for that.
Yes.
Record your voicemail while you're standing in front of a mirror and make sure that you are smiling while you record it.
That is great. And that goes back to what I said about have a smile in your voice when you're talking on the radio.
I worked in a lot of sales positions doing phone sales.
Yes.
Where I had to, they required that we have a mirror in front of us to make sure that we were smiling.
Oh, that's great. I would never have done that because I find myself odd looking. I'd get lost in like the Beauty and the Beast thing, and I'm the Beast, and I'd see like a horn. I'd imagine.
Yeah, no. I used to make I have certain times of the week set aside just to make phone calls, and I'm in the habit of it now, so I don't use a mirror anymore. But I used to, when I was doing my phone calls, stand in front of a mirror to do them to make sure that I was smiling because it does translate.
Well, and you do it when you FaceTime because you can see yourself there in the corner. Yeah. That's interesting.
So greet people, welcome them into your space.
And be genuinely interested when you're doing that.
Yeah.
Okay. Keep going. Where are we? This is great.
Okay, next would be engagement.
Okay.
You got to learn how to engage people.
Yes.
And the easiest way to engage somebody is with a genuine compliment. And what?
I'm just thinking about genuine compliments.
No, don't be silly. Come on now. Or maybe a question,
Okay.
but not what they expect. So, for instance...
Well, that's deeper. That's deeper in the conversation.
No. Listen, for instance, I often will compliment someone's outfit, their accessory, their hair, their whatever that I like about what they... But you can't do that if you don't teach yourself to look for the positive.
I gotcha.
So this all kind of ties together. But shoes, and the reason it's easy for me to do that is I love all that.
Right.
Right?
You're into it.
Yeah.
If somebody's got a big bangly bracelet, you're excited about it. And you want to talk about it.
Right.
That's genuine.
We went to dinner last night with some family, and our server, Judy, when she walked up to the table, she was standing next to me, and she, greeted the table. And I said, "You have a great smile. You just kind of lit up the room when you came in."
Speaking of that experience, Judy was great.
She killed it.
She had a great smile. She delivered a steak that I ordered medium rare, and it was extra well done. It was shoe leather. And I said to her, and I wasn't going to say anything, but, I'm a guest at a meal, and I want to have a nice meal and not be down in the mouth and, upset. And I said, "Hey, listen, I don't want to send this steak back, but I just want to let you know that this is not a medium rare steak." And she looked at it and she said, "You're absolutely right. It's not." And then disappeared. And came back 3 minutes later with a medium rare steak and just pulled it over my shoulder and took the old one away. Mm-hmm. It was great.
Yeah.
Not, "Oh, I'm sorry." Not, I put it in right. None of that. She just said, "You know what? That's absolutely not medium rare." Turned around and went and fixed it and came back with the right steak.
Right.
And that steak that she brought was spectacular. Mm-hmm. And I bet she stood back there the whole time and said, "I need you to expedite a steak right now, and I need you to fire it right now," and stood there like this.
Maybe.
Because she left for 2 minutes and came back with a steak. She was great. That's what I was trying to illustrate.
Yeah.
Sorry to interrupt you.
And she had a great smile, and that's what I noticed about her. Mm-hmm. So
it was an easy compliment.
So learn to recognize things about people that are unique to them, because all of this will make you stand out.
That's right.
So damn easy to rise to the top and stand out. So easy, because people don't do it. You want to be a rock star? These simple steps can get you there, because people don't do it.
Okay.
It's so easy. So recognize things about people that you can compliment them on. And another thing is, don't ask, "How are you doing?" Because everybody says fine or okay or good. I like to oftentimes I ask, "How's your day going so far?" Or, "How's your day been so far?"
That's good.
It's just a variation. See, words matter.
Mm-hmm.
It's just a little shift. It's enough of a shift that when I'm at, Walmart, and I say to the cashier, "Hey, how's your day going so far?"
Mm-hmm.
The pause between the "hey" and the rest of it makes them look at me.
Mm-hmm.
And the question itself is just enough of a shift that they're kind of taken back a little.
Right.
And they answer.
Right. They don't have time to think about it, and they tell the truth.
Right.
Yeah, that's good. I think in all situations, the only place I don't think that would be a question I'd lead with is like if I ran a funeral home. "Hey, how's your day so far?" I probably wouldn't say that to somebody.
You've got to gauge your audience for Pete's sake.
Yeah, but in every other case I can think of.
Right.
Disarming.
Yeah.
Now I'm invested in this conversation, and this person really is interested in me.
Right.
That's what I hear when I hear that.
Give me a funeral home. They walk in, "Hi, welcome into XYZ funeral home today." They probably have an appointment, right? Most of the time, I would guess.
I don't know how that works, actually.
I don't know.
When my mom passed away, she had it all figured out ahead of time. One of her students ran a funeral home. So she called him ahead of time because she had terminal cancer and said, hey, look, when I die, I need you guys to come take care of everything and call the boys and let them come see my body, then cremate me.
I have scripting, though.
And that happened. Go ahead. Go ahead. I'd like it.
Welcome to XYZ Funeral Home. I'm so glad that you could be here today so we can walk through this together. What can I do for you?
Oh, that's good.
I'm good.
That is good.
It's good.
Don't ever do that again, though, because they need to call and get advice from you and pay for it.
You can't give away too much content. I don't believe you can give away too much content. Right. That's not a thing. So I'll just keep giving it away. But really think about, and if you're having trouble, then stop and think. Again, put yourself in the place of the consumer and think, how would I want to be greeted when I come into this place?
Right.
What would I want said to me?
Yes.
And spend some time thinking about that and then train your staff to do it. Or, you know what I mean?
Yes.
And I'll tell you, I guess I want to talk about why this is important.
Okay.
Just to wrap it up in the last few minutes here. Because I can kind of imagine that people would be thinking, well, why should I care?
Right.
I'm just making money for the owner.
Right.
Like say you're an employee or a staff member or whatever.
And that's exactly what I'm thinking that girl at that restaurant thinks about her job.
Right.
Why should I care? It's not my money.
But it is her money. And that's what people fail to realize.
Right.
So imagine this, and let's just use her as an example. She would have made more money that day, specifically with us.
Yes.
Because we would have tipped better.
Right.
And you paid for that meal, and it's a good thing because I wouldn't have tipped at all because I'm that person.
And I tipped about 17%, which is way less than I normally would have tipped. It's simple math. That's why I tipped that much.
Well, so anyway, so she would have made more money from us.
Yes.
And I'm sure her other customers. But not only that, it makes her the better employee that you are, the more valuable you make yourself to the customer, the more valuable you make yourself to the company, the more hours that you get.
Yes.
The more responsibility you get, maybe you get promoted.
Yes.
Maybe you get to a place where your skill set is so good because you've been working on it so much that you've outgrown that job. And now you can go get a job you like even better.
Ooh, I like that.
Right?
Yes.
And guess what? Maybe you're not always going to be in that job. Maybe one day you're going to have your own business, or it just increase your value.
Yes.
And it will help you in the long run.
First impressions are critical in every single business. And if you do not have a successful, proven track record, you need to rewind this show and listen to it again from the beginning, because Londa's insights on first impressions are second to none. And I know that from spending time with you and from seeing the results that you get in your business.
Thank you.
Really, really good stuff. First impressions. What a great idea for a show.
Thank you.
I didn't even know what a first impressions expert was until you started telling me about it. Very exciting. All right, this has been The Session with Londa and David. For Londa Sherwood Austin, my name is David Austin.